Hello, I am so excited to be here talking about mindset today because I think this information is just so profound when it comes to really diving deep and thinking about how you see yourself and how you see the world. And so I really hope you see the value in it as well. I was actually introduced to this particular topic quite a while ago when I read Carol Dweck's book Mindsets when I was teaching. And I remember it having such an impact on me then. And I honestly believe in what she's saying here in this quote, that beliefs absolutely can be foundational to the life that you're leading. And when you start looking at, the thoughts that you tell yourself and your actions and how you see the world and how you treat others, you may say to yourself like, oh, I just need to, change how I think. Oh, I just need to change my behaviors. And those are all well-intentioned things. But when you don't get to the root of like, why is it that I'm thinking these things? Why is it that I'm acting in this way or seeing others in this way or even, treating others this way? I think it just becomes, you become more aware when you start diving deeper into these beliefs. And so the specific mindsets that she actually talks about in her book that I'm going to outline today are a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. And the basic principle or foundation that that I'm going to base this lesson on are the ideas that in a fixed mindset, your qualities are carved in stone. You've gotten a certain amount of intelligence or personality or a certain moral character, and really there isn't a whole lot you can do to develop these things. You kind of are who you are. Like you can go to school and you can have experiences and different jobs and things, and those might add a little bit to it, but for the most part, you really are who you are. And in a growth mindset, you have a choice that with hard work and determination and effort, you can grow to be the person you want to be in all of these areas through intelligence, personality, or even moral character. And so let's take a look at these a little bit more. If I believe that I have fixed qualities, that there's not much I can do to change who I am, my intelligence and all those things, you have to imagine how that must feel inside. And you may either be telling yourself and having the belief, well, I'm not that good of a person. People don't like me that much. So on the outside, I have to prove that I am a good person, that I am, people do like me. And so I'm constantly working to prove myself otherwise, right? That I have this belief in myself and I don't want that to be it. So I'm constantly on the outside trying to prove and get validation from the outside world that that's not true. And we can think about how that behavior plays out in the world. And, we've seen that maybe even in ourselves, or the fact that, my belief is that I don't have a lot of intelligence and I'm constantly trying to validate that specific thing on the outside world and basically saying, I told you so. I told you I couldn't do it. I told you I wasn't good enough. I told you I wasn't smart enough, and always looking for that validation on the outside world that we really will never add up. And so it can really play itself out in two different ways here if you really think about it. And can you imagine how out of control that you must feel and the fear that must build up inside of you if you think you have no say in your abilities, in your character, in your personality? Can you imagine what it must feel like when you do hit a bump in the road, when your weaknesses are revealed, when you do fail? All of a sudden you're defined by it. I am a failure because I failed. And then think about what you're always focusing on. You're always focusing on that end goal. You're always focusing on, okay, I want to be the best businessman. I want to be the best parent. I want to be the best spouse. I want to be the best friend. I want to be the top of my game. I want to be the best sports star. If I'm going to compete, it's all about, or if I'm going to give my efforts and my time in this, I better succeed. I better be the best at it. Otherwise, why even try? Because there's a fear there. There's an absolute fear behind this, that I have no control over this. So my talents, my abilities better show up so that I can be seen the best, because I have nothing else. I have no backups. This is all I have to count on, right? And so it's always focusing on the end goal. It's never really about the journey. Like, okay, I didn't really meet my goal, but wow, look how much I've grown. I can honestly look back and say that I'm better today than I was yesterday. And there's never a focus on that. And you have to see that then all of a sudden this creates this world where it's safe, where you're never really pushed outside your limits, where you get to be perfect, where you're never really challenged. That could be at your job, that could be in your hobbies, that could be in your home life, that can even be in your relationships. If somebody comes to me and says, I hurt them, I said or did something that hurt their feelings, or there's something that I can work on in my job, or I can work on in our relationship to be better, that's an attack. That's an attack on my character, because as far as I'm concerned, it is who I am. I can't change that. And so you're attacking me, and I become very defensive, because that's chipping away at who I am and who I believe me to be. And I have no control over that, right? So if you're looking at more of a growth mindset, really shift all those ideas here, where I think there's this realization that no, I may not have, been born with the best or these particular gifts, but if I take the time and I put in the effort, then I can get where I want to be. And I think it's important to understand that we all have strengths. We all have weaknesses, right? And we look at these people that are super successful in our society and those maybe around us, and we think, oh, look at all the success and great accomplishment that they have, right? And I think sometimes we say to ourselves, well, it's just easy for them. Like this, it just comes so easy for them. It just doesn't take a whole lot of effort. It's just their thing. Or they're just gifted in that. Or they're just, we tell ourselves this, right? We always give excuses for it. And I don't think that we realize that the moment they stood on stage, the moment that their, book was released, the moment they, built their successful business, was not the only defining moment. It was that journey, right? There were tears, there was heartache, there were times they wanted to quit. And we've talked about this before, that we just think people have these, innate talents and gifts, and it requires no effort whatsoever. And we know that's wrong. And when we have a growth mindset, yeah, failure stinks, right? But it doesn't define you. It's not who you are. It's a bump in the road, and you'll learn from it, and tomorrow's a new day. And like I said, it's not about the outcome. I may not make the goal. I may not, be everything that I had envisioned, but I'll tell you what, I worked hard and I'm better for it. I gave it my all, and I have no regrets. So a growth mindset welcomes opportunities to learn and grow. They're okay with that honest feedback that their boss may give them. It may hurt to hear it at sometimes. We don't want to hear where we might be falling short, for sure. But they realize that if they want to grow and they want to be better tomorrow, that they need to hear these things. And it's okay. It comes from a place of good. And the same in our relationships. We're not perfect, and we can work to change and be better. And so when someone comes to us and is vulnerable and tries to tell us those things, we're okay with hearing it. We're okay with learning from that situation and not fixating on this idea that we have to be perfect, because if we're not, we've all of a sudden failed in that part of our life, right? So I really want you to go and take from this really these ideas and think about in your life where you may be more of a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset, or the opposite, because they pop up in all sorts of different ways. And think about maybe how you might start thinking differently. All right, join us again on Thursday as we continue to talk more about these two mindsets and digging even a little bit deeper. Have a great night.